Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the August 1st Muscatine City Council meeting. Cinda, will you please do the roll call?
Councilmember Spread,
Present.
Harvey,
Present.
Rockert,
Present.
Saucedo,
Present.
Brackett,
Present.
Fitzgerald,
Present.
Malcolm,
Present.
7 present, 0 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you. Will you please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. Gotta make a quick note here. All right. We're gonna go ahead and start our agenda for tonight. Under number 4, communications, we have an appeal by Glenn Stanton concerning a notice to abate nuisance. Is Glenn with us here tonight? I don't see him, so we'll go ahead and move on. Is there anybody here who would like to speak about something to council that is not on tonight's agenda? Come on up to the podium and state your name and address, please.
My name is Ralph Burr, 3015 Allen Street, First Ward, Mayor and Council. Second time I've been here in a row. I got 2 things I'm gonna talk. I come down here and talk, and my name's never mentioned in the paper the next day. I don't know why. Then I'd like somebody to come up and explain this sewer system when it's gonna get fixed. It's been going on this way for 25 years. And everybody in Muscatine knows me, and they know there's a sewer problems. And I thought a while back they'd had to decide what they was gonna fix when they mentioned it, like a 20-foot manhole or something. Well, I figured they're tearing up Hauser Hill. That'd have been a good time to lay the sewer line down there now. It's been shut down for so long, so I'd like you to tell the people in Muscatine when you're gonna fix the sewer system out there, because it's a bad influence on Muscatine. You're trying to promote tourism and people moving to this town, but when you got a lift station, it's not working right, they're not gonna move to town. I got a lot I could tell them. I don't wanna talk anymore tonight. I'd like to hear from the city first, what they're gonna do before I do.
Thank you, Mr. Burr.
Thank you very
And
much.
my response would be that our city staff would like to verify that you have already put in the pump so that
Well,
the valve,
let me tell you
the
something.
check valve.
Mayor, to say, shut valves don't have nothing to do with the sewer backing up. How many people in here have a valve in their basement sewer line? None of you, maybe one person. Why? I got one because the city can't take care of their sewer system.
Because you
But
do
no-
have one in your home.
Oh, yeah, I've had it for
Okay.
years. In fact, I've replaced it 3 times. Yeah. And what's gonna happen, like, you've been getting these things to insure your sewer line to the street. Well, if my sewer collapses, I'm gonna sue the city because they're backing up my sewer line all the time. So it's a problem that's gotta be fixed. I know it's been handed down, passed on for, I told you, for the last 25 years. It's gotta stop and get fixed now. You don't have to put it on the budget. I mean, we all pay a sewer fee. If you have to borrow money from the general fund or something to get it fixed, there's no reason to put it on the budget. If it gotta be fixed, fix it now. Look at all the other stuff you fix. Yeah.
Thank you,
And sewer
Mr.
to me
Burr.
has been the priority in this town for many years. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pardon me?
You can, but what good? It's not causing my sewer to back up. Huh? Yeah, you can look at it.
Thanks for coming down. We appreciate it. Anyone else? Hearing nothing, we're going to go ahead and move on with our consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event it will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Is there a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda, which includes items 6A and B, items 8A through G, items 12A and B, and tonight's bills totaling $1,454,733.78?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Fitzgerald. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. We're going to move on down past the consent agenda items. We have 2 public hearings tonight. Number B was taken, or letter B was taken off of the agenda. So the first public hearing concerns an amendment to the mechanical codes for the city of Muscatine. The Iowa Department of Public Health has adopted new codes, and to stay in compliance with state law, the city must adopt the new standards. Now is the time for the public to comment. Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to close?
So moved.
Nadine? Second? Councilman Spread? We have a motion by Councilwoman Brockert with a second by Councilman Spread. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll move to C. And this public hearing concerns amending Title 10, Chapter 4, Section 11 of the City Code. The Iowa Department of Natural Resources has requested that the City of Muscatine add 6 definitions to the city's floodplain management regulations. Now is the time for the public to comment. Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to close?
Move to close.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilwoman Brockert. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're moving on down to 11A. We have presented for City Council's consideration the first reading of an ordinance on the proposed amendment to Title 8, Chapter 7, Building Regulations, Mechanical Code. The Iowa Department of Public Health has adopted these new codes, and to stay in compliance with the state law, the city must adopt the new standards. This is what we just talked about in Public Hearing A. Is there a motion to approve the first reading of this ordinance as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Spread. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Malcolm, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
Councilman Spread?
Aye.
And Councilman Saucedo.
Aye.
This motion carries with all ayes. 11C then, since we skipped B, presented for City Council's consideration is the first reading of an ordinance on the proposed amendment to Title 10, Chapter 4, Section 11 of the City Code Floodplain Regulations. The Iowa Department of Natural Resources has requested that the City of Muscatine add 6 definitions to the city's floodplain management regulations. Public hearing C. Is there a motion to approve this first reading of the ordinance as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor. Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Spread with a second by Councilman Saucedo. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Brackett, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
Councilman Spread?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
And Councilman Saucedo. This motion carries with all ayes. We're on 11D. Presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution setting a public hearing for August 15th of 2019 at 7 p.m. in this room for an ordinance amending Title 10, Chapter 27, Section 8 of the City Code, standards for all parking lots, garages, drive lanes, and driveways. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with the second by Councilman Harvey. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Malcolm, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
Councilman Spread?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
And Councilman Saucedo. The resolution is adopted with all ayes. 11E. Presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution setting a public hearing on August 15th of 2019 at 7 p.m. in this room concerning the declaration and sale of property located at 405 Van Horn Street. The adjoining property owners have made an offer of $3,000 to the city for the purchase of this property. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution as submitted?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion by Councilman Fitzgerald with a second by Councilman Harvey. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Spread, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Saucedo?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
And Councilman Brackett.
Aye.
This resolution is adopted with all ayes. We're on 11F. Presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution approving the contract and bond for the 2019 Asphalt Alley Maintenance Project. Public Works Department compiled a list of alleys to be asphalt overlaid, and bids were received. The bid was awarded to Taylor Ridge Paving and Construction. City staff recommends the approval of contract and bond to allow for the start of the project. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Second, Your Honor.
We have a motion by Councilman Spread with a second by Councilman Fitzgerald. Is there any discussion? Please come to the podium and state your name and address. You can bring them up behind you and they can introduce themselves before they speak. Please adjust the microphone so the folks at home can hear you well.
Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, first of all. My name is Nancy McClure. I am the owner of Pro Paving LLC. We're out of Burlington, Iowa. I believe that all of you, except Councilman Fitzgerald, I questioned my email if you got it from me this morning, because I had mail delivery failures to you twice.
I don't remember getting one from you.
I think, and I'm hoping that each and every one of you received one from me to summarize why I would be here this evening. Firstly, this project the Muscatine has was put out to all the contractors. Dustin, which you'll be hearing from shortly, is the lead project manager for me on all the projects. Dustin came up and picked up everything that was necessary to bid on your alley project for 2019. We submitted the bids. We provided a bond from our insurance company. We gave you our certificate of liability. On 2 separate occasions, I'm sorry, I don't know if it was 2. I have a number of emails to Randy Howe, and I believe Brian Stinman, and I'm not sure on Stinman's last name, saying that the question, first of all, we gave a very responsible bid. And the bid came in again as low bid, and we were awarded that. So to move forward then, both Randy and Brian question our capabilities of milling. I tonight have brought up Tri-City Blacktop's representative. I talked to Randy and I said, we have the capabilities to mill your alleys. No problem. I have emails from this man saying that if you can demonstrate that you can do this, not a problem. And if not, bring Tri-City Blacktop on board and do the milling. Not a problem. Put this in writing for us. Randy then come back and asked for 3 references. 2 I have checked with have given us favorable references. The 3rd was our very first project back in, I think, 2012. Iris Lane in Fort Madison, Iowa. Larry Dinwiddie was the acting and interim project manager, city engineer, and city water director. Larry has since retired. I gave him as a reference. I'm a retired state employee. I've been retired 5 years. If someone were to call, I was counselor at the penitentiary in Fort Madison for 33 years. If someone were to call a judge, regardless of what district in the state of Iowa, they would ask for Nancy McClure, and the state would have to say she's not here. But those records should be there. When we found out that Taylor Ridge was awarded this, we had no clue. And it is my understanding that you people were told that we didn't have the milling capabilities and we didn't have the references that you wanted. We do have everything. You were not told correctly. I can substantiate that with all of the emails, and I believe that you have received those. If not, I'll forward them to you again. I'm going to bring Dustin Wogemuth. Dustin leads my crew. I have Shipley paving asphalt contractors that work for me. These guys are more than efficient. I also have Luke Carpenter. He's representing Tri-City Blacktop. These two fellas can tell you anything else you would like to know. I believe I'm here tonight not asking necessarily for reconsideration of the bid. I'm asking for you to give us that bid that we rightly deserved. We did it appropriately. We gave you a responsible bid. We come in at low bidder, and we are capable of doing this. I'm not certain where else we should go with this.
What else did the guys have to add to this? Did you have something specific you wanted them to share? Please state your name and address.
Dustin Wogemuth, 220 Boundary, Middletown. The day of the hearing that you guys accepted Taylor Ridge's project, I had called that morning to confirm that Tri-City would be handling the milling. The engineer, Randy Howe, then stated something about our paver capabilities. I know for a fact our paver and our equipment is years newer than Taylor Ridge's. We have local 150 operators. There was never a chance to give more references. It was just the three, and we have capabilities to do this project. This is alley paving. We're doing streets in Wapello. We just completed streets in Libertyville. We're in Donaldson now, Fort Madison next. So we're not sure where we're at fault here. We've done everything I think that we need to provide: the bond, low bid, have proper equipment, have a subcontractor we're buying our asphalt from. That's basically all I have.
Thank you. Did you have anything to add?
Luke Carpenter. I'm from LeClaire, Iowa.
Could you adjust the microphone a little bit? You're a titch taller.
I'm representing Tri-City Blacktop. It's a family business. Dustin approached me about helping him out with this project. We're going to supply them with the asphalt, all the QC, QA testing for the job, all the field testing if need be. He also, when bidding this project, he said, well, I might need you to do the milling. So I gave him a quote to do the milling. And now as this has progressed, I guess we need to do the milling, but, and he has in a letter of intent from us saying that we're going to do all these things, the milling and I guess whatever else required from us. But Pro Paving was a low bid. You know, he's doing street works around the state of Iowa. I don't see why he shouldn't be awarded this project. You know, Taylor Ridge, they were the first, I think that was the first year Taylor Ridge did this project was last year. So, I mean, that's no different than Pro Paving doing it this year. We have 50 years experience backing them up. I mean, that's a lot to be said there. So if, I guess, I don't know what else
Thank you.
what else you need, so.
Ms. McClure, did you have anything? Okay, go ahead.
I think finally, you know, I think there's some very basic facts here. We followed all the procedures. We did what your city wanted us to do. We complied with that. I don't know. I wonder if it's been predetermined. We have the credentials. We have the equipment. We never were even given the opportunity to bring Tri-City Blacktop on board.
Thank you. Did you have something to add? Please state your name and address.
I'm Brooke T. I live in 10398 77th Street, Wapello, Iowa. I'm here with the Indiana, Illinois, Iowa Foundation for Fair Contracting. We are a labor management nonprofit organization. I just wanted to encourage the council to award the Asphalt Alley project to Pro Paving, the lowest responsible bidder. I understand they are new to the city, but they did provide references. Whether they are public or private jobs, I think the question should be the quality of work and if they stayed within the timeline. Also, they have the support of Tri-City to do the milling, and Tri-City has a long history of great work. Again, I would encourage you to award the project to Pro Paving. Thank you.
Thank you. You can go ahead and take your seats. Council, did you have any questions or discussions?
I guess I'd have questions for staff on this, but, I've been following along with this and wasn't really sure where we'd fall on it, but, I do have concerns about the direction this went and whether or not we should put it back to, if we should rebid this, because, with the statements that we're hearing tonight, I guess I would look to staff for an explanation as to why we went the way we did.
Sure.
And in lieu of that explanation, if we just want to, if we would take it to rebid, I would be fine with that too.
Mayor and Council, Brian Steinman, Public Works Director. It's the reason that we recommended the second lowest bid is that at our follow-up with Pro Paving and the recommendations, we did not get the same responses that she said that they gave. Randy Howell called all the references that they provided. One of them had no record of them doing the work. The other one wasn't the same type of work. Being new to this, we wanted to give them opportunities, so we asked them if they could provide, be able to mill and meet the profile milling, so they provided the Tri-City Blacktop. What we determined afterwards, that would probably work, but the references did not give us confidence. So with that lack of confidence, we didn't feel that the responsible bid was there, so therefore we went to the second lowest bid, somebody that we happened to use last year, yes, but that's just where we went. It is council's decision. Ultimately, it's our recommendation, but it's council's decision. I would suggest if you don't want to award it to Taylor Ridge, that we would rebid the whole thing and throw everything out and rebid it. I don't know what type of impact that will have on Taylor Ridge. I would imagine they'd be back at the next meeting with the same concerns that these folks have, and that's understandable. Did you have a chance to read the evaluation of bids, wording and the evaluation of bids? So it does explain the process that we evaluated and the rights and responsibilities that we have as part of the contract to award to who we felt was the best responsible bid. So, but the conversations that Randy Howell had with the references is what swayed us to not award to Pro Paving and go to the next bid.
And Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but the reference to the second milling option was not included with the bid.
That's correct.
So
It was after we realized, or after they were apparent low, then because of that apparent low, we wanted to work with them, but we had to go through the rest of that stuff, which, as we determined later on, it did not meet the bid specifications. Now, maybe we shouldn't have had that conversation in the first place, but we were trying to, make it work out. So, but the bid specifications to meet the bid specs, that should have all been included up front with the submittal.
Right, so because that information was not included with the bid, it's my understanding that based on the bid documents and the references that were included with the bids, Public Works made a recommendation. That recommendation was to use the second low bidder. The city attorney has also reviewed all of the documentation and the emails that have been submitted, other than city staff has not provided the email that was provided today. And as you know, the city attorney did not have any problem proceeding and awarding the bid with the second lowest bidder under the circumstances.
So to be clear, providing 3 references was part of the bid specs, and that did not happen until later?
No, the references were in the follow-up to the bid to determine whether or not they met our specifications. So we wanted more information, therefore we asked for the references from this company,
Okay.
having never used them
So
before.
they did provide everything
They
were-
provided, yes, they provided
Okay.
everything they said they did
That's not
provide.
what you
But
said.
our follow-up,
Not provide
not
the
at the submittal time. We went out for that. We went for more questions after they were apparent low bid.
Right,
Right, it was not presented initially, the references and those
right,
things.
but it wasn't required to.
No,
No, it wasn't.
the second milling option was not included with the bid specs.
The profile milling part was not included with the bid
Using
specs.
a second or outsourcing the milling to a third party was not included in their bid. Therefore, it would
No,
not.
because they were going to do it themselves.
Right,
But when
correct.
you
So
brought up,
therefore-
or
When we
he brought up
requested
that there was a-
information to determine whether or not they could
then they
profile
said,
mill.
well, would this make you happy?
So therefore,
Correct.
it could
Right.
not be considered by the city because it was not included as part of their response. So their bid was not responsive.
But then I'm wondering why if it couldn't be, then why did Randy ask him, would you be willing to do this if that wasn't going to be a possibility?
Yeah, well, we wanted to work with them as best we could, And when we determined, based on the references, that that we did not feel comfortable with that, then we went back and we're like, okay, well, we shouldn't have done this anyway. So now it's out of bid spec. Well, it was out of bid spec anyway, but to reject them legally, we have to reject it based on the bid specifications, which weren't there. We can't just say, sorry, your references didn't work out right. I mean, that's part of it, but the bid specifications were not met either. That's the legal part that we have to follow. So
Isn't a Road Hog what we bought?
that's what we have,
Smaller
yes.
version of, is
Well,
it smaller than what we
I don't know what
bought?
size theirs is, but that's what we have, but,
That's what I was thinking, and
yeah.
ours is supposed to be hit and miss work, not,
Our understanding from ours is that we can't profile mill with it, we can't get enough fall out of it. And so that's why we asked for the, how they could profile mill with the milling machine or whatever.
right.
So if they weren't going to change it and subcontract out the milling, then they were within,
Then they
the
would,
bid
then
specs.
no, they weren't within the specs then
They did
because,
it themselves.
no, because they didn't have the equipment to do it then. We didn't feel that they could do that and meet that, to profile mill to get the inverts in the alleys that we need for drainage without using a milling machine, we didn't feel that they could do that. That's why we were uncomfortable. And then we called the references and we were not satisfied with the references.
Did you get bad references?
I would say yes.
I mean, they said that they weren't any good?
They said that they did not do the type of work that we are requesting for alleys. One person that said they had done some parking lot work, but not main paving. The other reference had no records of them as being a prime contractor. He said they were a subcontractor, but he didn't have any records of them doing the work, so that caused red flags for us. And the third, I can't remember what Randy told me, but the third was not, it didn't convince us either.
So they weren't bad, they weren't negative, they were just,
They weren't enough to make us feel comfortable to recommend awarding to an unknown contractor to council.
anyone else?
I'm good with the decision stuff.
I think they'd like to do some follow-up. Are you good, Councilman Brackett?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess I've got a lot of uncertainty about this, especially with the difference between what she said about what she thought was said versus what we got, and just kind of the way that it went. And I understand where staff, where your position was on that. I get that. That does make sense. I want to make sure that we're awarding fairly, and I think I would still lean towards putting it back to rebid.
Yeah, all that does is push our start date back. I mean,
I understand.
And maybe that clears everything. I've just, as far as staff is concerned, we felt the lowest responsible bid was the second bid from
Right.
Taylor Ridge.
And like I said, I completely respect that stance and understand why you went
And
that direction.
just so the public knows, they're both over our budget anyway. So I mean, one's $91,000 over, one's $108,000 over. I mean, we're not going to get everything done anyway, but.
So, my question is, I heard they said Burlington or something that's fairly close, some of the work you've performed. And I know you guys over at Public Works are really busy, but would it have been possible for somebody to go and inspect some of their previous work to see if it met your standards or not?
We could have. We felt that a phone call was more,
I understand.
responsible and efficient. And I don't know if they actually gave the city of Burlington as a reference or not. But anyway, yes, to answer your question, we could have, we did not.
I'm kind of leaning with maybe rebidding this, only because I see a small company that's trying to get established and they're doing their best to do this. And
Yeah, may I just say, we have nothing against pro paving. We just were not comfortable recommending that
Right.
for that amount of money for this project. So that's staff's standpoint. No ill will, nothing preconceived, no pre-notions, anything like that.
And just to be clear, I mean, I just want to reiterate what Brian said earlier. There's nothing to say that you won't have a problem with the contractor that was awarded the bid at the earlier meeting. And based on the city attorney's review of all of the documentation that was received to date, he was fine recommending proceeding as staff proposed. So just wanted to reiterate that as well. So.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you have something to follow up before we go to the vote?
A little confusion with the explanation there that, so your, the road hog was not acceptable, okay? Now that, so when he submitted his bid packet, they were gonna self-perform the work, okay? You found later that that is not acceptable. Now, to me, that's almost no different than when you submit a mixed design for the project. Nope, that's not acceptable. You need to resubmit a new one. So their opportunity to say, well, Tri-City's gonna do our milling, they're gonna be our subcontractor. That should void that all out. So to me, it's back to questionable references where, you know, city says they were bad, Pro Paving says no, they gave good references. So there's kind of a gray area there, but rebidding the project, Pro Paving is already low bid. Their numbers are public record, you know. So there's no saying that Taylor Ridge can't come in here and just, oh, I'm $1 cheaper and they get the job again. So now it's a game of who's gonna get the job, and it's very unfair to Pro Paving, and I think they were it was, I wouldn't say totally fair to begin with, because to me, just because they were gonna try to self-perform the work, and then later, no, that's not acceptable, that shouldn't make their bid throw it out. That doesn't seem right to me.
Thank you. Last couple thoughts?
Dustin Wilgmuth. On the references, Terry Wynn owns Wynn Corp. of Fairfield, Iowa. That was one of our references. We are the sole paving contractor that is used for the rock quarry and sand pit in the Fairfield location. I know that was a good reference. The other project I gave was Ben Brink, who's a land real estate developer. His project was on the city streets of Burlington. That engineer has also left. They were present during that project. That was a mill and remove. And she explained that our first project that we did, it was 2009, it was Iris Lane. That was a complete street, longer than the alley, any of the one alleys that would be doing for Muscatine, mill and replace. That engineer is gone. So all the references, those were never asked to resubmit another set of references. They gave us one chance. We submitted 3. 2 out of the 3 responded. 1 did not because he was not there. That's what I wanted to explain.
Thank you. Ms. McClure, did you want to give a?
I do. I do. Throughout the emails and throughout the correspondence, not once did the people, which is Randy and Brian, say to us, your road hog is not acceptable. They just said, well, we're kind of skeptical. We have a road hog. And we said, well, how about if we do this? And the last email, if you will allow me to read, this is from Brian. Nancy, we are concerned with your company's ability to adequately profile mill the alleys for drainage. If you can demonstrate that you can profile mill with your road hog machine, or if not, you will agree in writing to have Tri-City Blacktop do the milling with their machine. Then we will proceed with recommending you for the contract award. If we are dissatisfied with the profile milling and you refuse to use Tri-City, I'm nervous.
It's okay.
Tri-City to mill the profile required, we will cancel the contract. Never once did I hear these men say, you can't do this. We don't like what you're bringing to the table. They just said, demonstrate it. If we don't like it, then you have to have something else. We were never afforded the luxury to show you what we've got to bring. And, you know, there is ethics here, and there is a poor business decision here. And again, if we have no other alternative than to rebid, I still don't think that's fair. We came in as a very responsible asphalt contractor. I think that's it.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go back to,
There's a motion to approve the
right,
resolution.
we already have it. We have a motion by, I was looking for who did it. We have a motion by Councilman Spread with a second by Councilman Fitzgerald. We've had some discussion. Now, Councilman Brackett, how do you vote?
No.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
No.
Councilman Saucedo,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert,
No.
Councilman Harvey,
No.
Councilman Spread.
Aye.
The resolution is not adopted. We're on 11G. Presented for City Council's consideration as a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order to WatchGuard Video Systems in the amount of $142,105 for the replacement of squad car video equipment and expansion of system to include body-worn cameras. There's $148,000 budgeted for this purchase. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second, Your Honor.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Brockert with a second by Councilman Brackett. Any discussion?
I just had one question for staff on this.
Phil?
The cameras that we got, was there any change in what we had requested, we saw in budget from these, or are they still the same models? Is there any upgrades? 'Cause
I didn't hear the first part of your question.
The models of the body cams that we're purchasing, was there any new models, or is there any upgrades, or is there any changes in what we had saw in budget, or are they the same models?
They're the same models. The budget, there's still another part to come to this. The reason that it's $6,000 less is there's portions that John Krusenstein still needs to spec out for a separate computer to run the redaction programs and backup systems, tape and all that stuff for the server part.
Good. Okay, good. Well, that's all I have.
Thank you. Hearing nothing else, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. We're on 11H. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order to, I'm hoping I get this right, guys, Dings. Help me, Ted. What? Dingus, thank you. Dingus Fire Company in the amount of $5,737.60 for the purchase of 8 2.5-inch nozzles to replace the out-of-service nozzles. There is $8,300 budgeted for this purchase. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Harvey. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. We're on 11L. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order to Clocks Emergency Vehicle in the amount of $43,760 for the purchase of an MTS Power Load, a power assist loading system, and Power Pro XT, a battery-powered cot. There's $47,000 budgeted for this purchase. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
We have a motion by Councilman Fitzgerald with a second by Councilman Harvey. Spread. Any discussion?
Quick
Yeah,
question.
I have
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Councilman Harvey.
Curious question, what's the difference between these two units? They kind of sound the same, but apparently they're not.
Yeah, it's two separate units. The MTS Power Load is a system that puts the cot into the ambulance. The Power Load cot is a battery-operated cot for lifting. So it's going from a lower position up, where it's saving from back injuries, powering up, and then we get it to the ambulance, and it self-loads itself.
Okay.
This is where all the ambulance companies are going to now because of the numerous back injuries they're having, and they found that it saves extensive back injuries.
Now, you need the MTS power load for the cots that aren't powered?
Yes,
To
they're
get
two
them in?
different, yes, that's two different setups. Yes, sir.
Now, this isn't the one that goes down the stairs, right?
No, that's the stair chair.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there just one unit of each?
Yes, ma'am.
And then how, will we have dispatchers asking how chubby some patients are? and if we're going to need this here, or?
It's a very good way. The dispatchers do that. We have a bariatric cot. Our bariatric cot, unfortunately, is not battery operated. We do send extra people there to help lift, to assist on that, but we don't always have that personnel on every call.
Okay. So it will always be located at Central Fire Station, and you'll load it as you need it?
We would hope that we would be able to get some more in the future. We want to see how it's saving back injuries, as what we're finding is what is happening now. But there's no saying that this ambulance will not leave the city. Anytime we have somebody who has a chest injury, chest pain, heart attack, cardiac, they have to go to a cardiac unit.
Okay,
We can't send another vehicle out there to get them, so that vehicle may have to leave the city.
okay.
We do have other battery-operated cots. We do not have any other loading systems.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hearing nothing else, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. We're on 11J. Oh, here's the power chair. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order to Bound Tree in the amount of $6,866.44 for the purchase of an Easy Glide battery-powered stair chair with power tracks for power assist of moving patients. There's $7,300 budgeted for this purchase. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
So second.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Malcolm. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. We're on 11K. We have presented for City Council's consideration a request to approve and sign a memorandum of understanding for the Justice Assistance Grant. The Department of Justice has tentatively awarded $18,879 to be shared between the Muscatine Police Department, the Muscatine Drug Task Force, and the Muscatine Sheriff's Department. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Harvey. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The request is approved with all ayes. Next, we have on the agenda a discussion regarding the proposed TIF agreement for Musco Lighting, and Doug Yates is going to come up and talk to us about it. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. First off, I'd just like to thank you all for your service. I live in Oskaloosa, Iowa, and I'm on my 10th year as a city council person, so I know sitting in those seats sometimes is a thankless job, so thank you for what you're doing for our city here in Muscatine. I think you've been given some information about the project. I know you've got a long meeting, or had a long meeting, so I don't want to belabor anything, but I do want to answer questions. We're looking to do a $7.1 million expansion, add about 63,000 square feet to our facility here in Muscatine. That will increase our facility to roughly, depending on which buildings y'all count, probably about 340,000 square feet under roof. We've enjoyed being in Muscatine greatly since 1976. We've had the opportunity to grow here. In fact, I've stood before the council in 2005 when we expanded, and I stood before it in 2008 when we expanded. And we certainly appreciate what the city's done for us then. We hope that we're a responsible member of the community. We try and give back to the community whenever we can. We try and provide high-quality jobs here in the community. Right now, I think we're providing, if my number's right, about 360 full-time employees. And then we have, presently, summer's always busy for us. We have about 137 temporary team members helping us out with our seasonal business. So we're asking, asking for your consideration for this project. We're growing as a company. We're growing worldwide. And we hope to continue to grow even beyond this project in the years ahead. So certainly would answer any questions that you have about the project, but I just wanted to come over from Oskaloosa, my role as Vice President of Operations, and thank you for your consideration. It's an important project for us, and we appreciate you taking it into consideration. Any questions?
Thank you. Councilman Harvey.
Is your proposed increase in staff, will they be considered full-time jobs?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes, go ahead.
what kind of skills will these new jobs require?
Most of the roles would be in our, what I would call our direct labor. So it would be anywhere from assembly jobs, which that's a part of our group. It could be in our shipping group as well, and it could be in fabrication. Because while we're expanding the 63,000 square feet, it's going to allow us to move operations into that area that then will allow us to expand all of our operations. So along with that, when you add 50 new jobs, we'll also be adding supervisors. We may be adding quality techs, just depending upon how the expansion goes. So I can't sit here and tell you exactly what they would be, but I would say the majority of them will be in the direct labor.
Right. Thank you.
You bet.
The question I'd have, are those direct hires? Are they full Musco employees?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I read through the information, and I thumbs up to you guys for making the expansion here in Muscatine. And I'd personally like to see their Oskaloosa move the home office.
That'd be great, even better.
I know that might be a little bit of a push.
I will tell you, we're expanding. We have manufacturing operations in Shanghai, China. We have manufacturing in Gumi City, Korea. Our manufacturing operations in Oskaloosa, we're right now hanging the red iron for a 50,000 square foot expansion. We want to be where we can best serve our customer base, but obviously Muscatine will always be our largest and key high volume operating center, manufacturing center. So
good job.
We've enjoyed a relationship that goes back to, like I said, 1976, where Joe Crookham shook hands with George Shepley, and First National Bank provided some financing, and Joe promised we'd stay here, and we're trying to live up to that.
Good.
We enjoy having you here in our community. Any other questions?
I just had
Go
a
ahead.
question. In regards to the building expansion, is it going to be warehouse space as far as for storage, or is it going to actually be an added fabrication line? It doesn't really show a lot of that.
As I mentioned, we will be, I could use a lot of names, but no, we will be moving some of our existing lines. Like we have a line that we call our fitter line, where we bring the luminaire assembly heads down and we do the aiming and so forth. We have one line now. That one line will move into the new area, as well as we'll be adding a second line. Then that will allow, by that line moving, us to expand some of our other assembly operations that's in our existing building, or our existing assembly building. So of the 63,000 square feet, there's a little bit of warehouse in the one end. I'm going to say maybe roughly 8,000 square feet of it, 8 to 10. The rest of the 50 would be assembly operations that will expand out of the other areas, so that then we can grow those as well. Hope that answered your question.
Good, good. No, I applaud you guys. I think it's great. I think it's a good job by your team and the drawings, and Greg and his group. I think it's been a good job that we're able to review that, and I'm all for this as well too, and I think it's a great piece for our community.
Thank you.
Very good news. Anyone else? Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Do we need
What?
do we need any kind of consensus of any kind or anything like that?
We typically ask for council
Yeah.
consensus on whether or not to proceed, then we'll begin contract preparations.
Okay,
I think we clearly have consensus.
Yeah.
yeah, good.
You bet.
Thank you, and congratulations on your expansion. We have a reminder that next week we do not have a council meeting. We typically have our second Thursday of each month designated as an in-depth meeting, but August we always take off. A lot of people are traveling and trying to take last-minute vacations before school starts back up. I'll take communication from Councilman Harvey.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Councilman Spread.
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Councilman Malcolm.
One minor thing, Your Honor, it just occurred to me that with this thing from Musco, there's a rumor that they're going to have a city flag hanging at that new facility outside. I mean, it looks just like that. In case you need one, I know where I can get you one. Other than that, I'm good, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Glad to have you back. Councilman Fitzgerald.
I just wondered what, at this point in time, if staff has any recommendations on what to do with the contract. I know that are still here. They probably would like to know whether it's gonna be rebid or what? What's the feeling?
They may need to, staff may need to visit about it.
I think I'd probably rather have a conversation with the city attorney as well, because
Okay.
you have competing interests, but I'm probably the fairest solution would be to rebid, but everybody knows the bids at this point in time, so I guess I'll be back to you with a recommendation.
Okay,
That's fair enough.
nothing else, Your Honor.
I think we can assume that staff will be in touch to let you know. Next, Councilman Saucedo.
Nothing at this time.
Councilwoman Brockert.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Councilman Brackett.
I was going to give some feedback on the college search kickoff. I had a number of people reach out to me and tell me how well that went, and I don't see any Parks folks here tonight, but just pass along to them that, we definitely got some positive things out of that, and it sounded like it went really well. Also glad to see the fountain open down at the riverfront.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you to all of the staff that were involved in getting that cleaned up, cleaned out, and turned back on. I saw a lot of kids down there when I was parking my car earlier today.
They're loving it.
So that's all I got.
No, not
They'll-
at this time. We'll get back to
They'll
that.
be in touch.
Yep.
Did you have anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Staff.
I'd asked Rich for some numbers. I know they had a busy week, busy weekend, and was hoping to have those for the update tomorrow as well and send those out. I believe we had a record number of coaches this year as well. Again, the weather cooperated. Lots of good comments about our new facilities as well, and Musco's participation in that. This fall, I believe, we'll be seeing lighting out there. So I'll get you some more specifics on that. I'd asked Rich for that at our Monday staff meeting. And then I'd just like to say I attended the second Almost Friday Fest, and I'd like to say thank you to all of the volunteers, Brenda Christensen and Christina Boer especially, and Bear for all of the work that they're doing to put that festival on. I'd say there was at least 3 or 4 times the attendance at their second event as there was at the first event. So great event for Muscatine.
Great event.
They ran out of contrary beer.
That should never happen.
I just had a couple things. This coming week, actually tomorrow morning, the Muscatine Japan Youth Exchange group is going to be here, and they're going to have 18 students from Japan come here for 8 days starting tomorrow. And then next year, our students go there. So you'll see them around town. They're going to be going to the library. They'll be stopping here. They'll be going a bunch of different places. So hopefully you'll see them and be able to give them a wave. Our city guests this week are Greg Bach. He's the new lieutenant at Salvation Army, if you haven't had a chance to meet him yet, and Amy Hessel with the Y. Lastly, I would like to just ask you to share the date. Greg Jenkins and I have been working on a project for, oh goodness, a year and a half, almost 2 years. So it's called Relay for Voices, and it's going to happen August 18th at 1 p.m. At the Riverview Center. And there's a couple of people who are working. I'm going to try to see if I can explain this. Greg and I sometimes get a little twisted trying to explain it. There's a couple of people who are working their way running down all of the road alongside the Mississippi River. They're stopping in river towns and having conversations with the local people. And at the end, they're going to put this all together in some type of a project, and we don't quite understand what it's going to look like because they don't either. They don't know if it's going to be an interpretive dance, a story, whatever variety it's going to be in. But what they're doing is they're doing this big run and stopping at the communities, and they just want to talk to people that are from Muscatine and live here, and they want to see the river through our eyes. So if any of you are free and available August 18th at 1 o'clock, stop down to the Riverview Center. Greg's going to bake homemade cookies and make some lemonade, and just sit and chat with the group as they take a break. And then at the very end, when they're all done, down at the bottom of the Mississippi, they'll go back and put this all together in some type of a report. We don't know what it's going to be, but if you are available, I think that's going to be something that's going to be really interesting, and I'm glad that Muscatine was chosen to be part of their project. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you back here August 15th at 7 o'clock. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We're adjourned.